don't know how much of an effect the weather will have on this game. Somewhat pleasant, I guess. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Paul Della Camera. Alongside me is Seamus Mallon. The U.S. must win today against Jamaica. Briefly, we'll tell you the story here. U.S. and Jamaica played game one, a 0-0 tie. And in case this game were to end in, let's say, a 1-1 tie or a 2-2 tie, road goals count as double. Therefore, the U.S. would lose. So I think at this point, Seamus, the U.S. has got to be thinking shutout.
I think you're right, JP. They certainly got to keep Jamaica from scoring anyhow and get a couple themselves. And in goal, they really have the player who can come up with a shutout for them. Dave Vanoli's been very solid for the national team of late. He's got good distribution. He's very steady and reliable. And he is the kind of player who really can come up with that crucial game-saving save for you just when you need it, as we see him doing in a previous match. So he is that kind of player for them in the clutch. Up front, there's more of a question mark. Brent Goulet and Hugo Perez. Perez, the playmaker. Brent Goulet, the great scorer. Both of them questionable for today's match. They'll be on the bench probably. They may see some action later on, but how much they can perform is really going to determine the flow of this game. Perez has a wonderful crossing ability, as you'll see him here when he sets up Brent Goulet against Trinidad for a fine headed goal by Goulet. And Goulet has perfected his heading skills by virtue of having learned the game, of course, under some good taskmasters from the British school and from playing in Bournemouth in England. But also, Perez is good at that long ball going over the top of the defense, and Goulet is very good at chasing it down, being cool under pressure on the one-on-one situation, perfectly willing to try the fake as he does here, and then slots the ball into the wide open goal for the fourth goal. And this was his hat trick. So Goulet and Perez are going to be very important. But also Rick Davis is going to be a key player for the United States. He's the captain today, as he's been for many matches. He is a very intelligent player, a hard-working player. He moves up and down the field as he did in the Jamaica game down there. And he also would like nothing better than to get a goal for his national team, as he did here in this match against El Salvador, his 9th goal, and that puts him in first place all-time scoring race for United States players in national competition.
Stay with us. We'll have the starting lineups for you, plus the opening kickoff when we return to St. Louis. Changed since we arrived here to do our pregame show to right now. The temperature has dropped to 82. The humidity has gone to 77. Thunder showers likely and temperature in the mid-80s. So it has cooled things off considerably from the time a lot of these people started to arrive for the game. But they were prepared. You see a lot of umbrellas in the stands as we get set to take you through the lineups and see what Jamaica and the U.S. will have to offer in this game. First, Jamaica.
Well, Jeffrey Maxwell is their coach, and they have some very good players at the back in particular. The back four, I think, is a very well-organized group, as Maxwell has got them playing probably the best defense in some time for a national side. Paul Campbell in goal, Gaynor, Thompson, Brooks, and Corbett at the back four. Anthony Corbett there, you see, he'll wear number 6, and he'll be the captain of the Jamaican team. In midfield, Carl Grant, Anglin, and Alton Sterling. And up front, Christian, Tulloch, and Hudson have got some explosive speed, and the United States will want to watch some of those players coming down the sides in particular. Now, for the United States, the coach, Lothar Osiander, and of course he already has had some great success with this team bringing it to the Olympic Games coming up in Seoul shortly, but he has a lineup today that will feature, as we mentioned, Vanoli in goal. In the back four of Trichu, Kevin Crowe as sweeper, Mike Windishman, although he may move into midfield, and Desmond Armstrong on the right fullback position. And listed as midfielders are Rick Davis, Paul Crumpy, who may in fact play a little bit more withdrawn, and Brian Bliss. And up front, Frankie Klopas, Jimmy Gabarra, Peter Vermes. Jimmy Gabarra, of course, scored a terrific, important goal for the United States in this very park, JP, to knock Canada out of the Olympic qualifying round about a year or so ago.
There's a look at Lothar and his bench. They do like this field, and they should. They're undefeated here, and they won the big game against Canada 3-0. And that was the same kind of a thing as this here, where the goal differential was important. They had already lost to Canada 2-0, so they needed to get at least 2 goals and a win to tie them. Instead, they got 3 goals. There's a little bit of a description as to what we have here at the St. Louis Soccer Park. There is no other facility like this in the country, and hopefully one day there will be quite a few of these. It is owned and operated by Anheuser-Busch Incorporated. They could have sold more tickets for this. There were several calls yesterday asking for tickets. The game was a complete sellout as of yesterday morning. The field conditions, though, unlike previous games here, where it was nice and sunny and extremely hot, it may have helped the U.S. against Canada. Let's see what it does here as Rick Davis takes the ball for the United States.
I love meteorologists. Thunderstorms like they said, it's only been pouring buckets for the last half an hour. I don't know where they are, but indoors it may look different. Outdoors it's pouring and it's raining again.
Well, last night they said 30% chance, then today 40, then 50. When we got here, it started to come down. Here's Windishman looking for Gabara, but it's broken up by Anthony Corbett, the captain. He's blocked. It's taken back by Windishman, number 5. Second on this team in appearances among active players is Windishman. Now it's Tritchu starting for the injured John Doyle, out with an abdominal muscle problem. And actually, as this ball goes out of play, we can tell you that the U.S. also without Brent Goulet. He has an ankle problem, but he could come on as a sub. Hugo Perez has some injury problems as well, a right groin strain and some shin splints. John Hark's also slowed down because of injury, so they're hurting a bit, but they still should have enough. They're a heavy favorite against Jamaica. This is Bliss on the run to the side, and it is knocked out of play by Winston England. Well, Bliss thought it was knocked out of play. Let's see. They're pointing at a goal kick.
Oh, dear. It was definitely a corner kick. Referee, I think, maybe giving something else here. No, he's giving a goal kick. Was fooled a little bit by the Jamaican defenders taking the ball into the goal area for a goal kick. There's the referees, the Canadian trio of Brummett, Evangelista, and Brunetti.
Jamaica will move it up the left wing side. We're just in the opening minutes of play here at the St. Louis Soccer Park. John Paul Della Camera along with Seamus Mallon. A game that the United States must win. As we told you before, a tie will do them no good. If it's a 0-0 tie, they will play into 2 15-minute overtimes, not sudden death. If it's still tied, then they would go into a penalty kick situation. If it's still 0-0, if it was 1-1 at that point, then Jamaica would end up as a winner. We'll talk more about that during the telecast. Windishman sending it for Vermes. Vermes, good ball on the right for Crumpy. Oh, Crumpy on the run. Davis heads for the back. So does Gabara. The long cross to the far post. And Gabara lost his footing there. I'm not sure he would have had that anyway. Armstrong in the corner with a good run. Played it low. He wanted Gabara, but it's broken up. But we saw already, Seamus, in the early going, how the footing can be treacherous and could have an effect on this game.
Oh, yeah, it's great for attackers, of course, because defenders have to react to their moves and can very easily lose their footing. Whereas the attackers know exactly what they're going to try to do. They won't always keep their footing, but they have the edge without much doubt. And Jimmy Gabara going in a little bit too early for that cross.
He'll look for this throw, and Davis will end up with it back. Rick Davis, a left footer, and he shanked that one wide. Rick Davis, the all-time leading goal scorer with 9 for the U.S. national team. He had 8 previous. He was tied with Willie Roy until he scored that last one in Indianapolis, which we showed you on our pregame show. And for Rick Davis, by the way, his 39th appearance for the national team. He leads in that category as well. Ball is knocked away, and now it's Vermes touching it back to Gabara. To Davis, knocked away from him. Anthony Corbett. Now up to Dennis Hudson. Played it long, intended for Michael Tulloch, but it's broken up, and Kevin Crow will play it right back to David Vinola. He's been the starting U.S. goalkeeper since Lothar Osiander assumed control of the program in 1986. So that's been good to see that the U.S. has remained constant in that key position in the nets while others have been changed. High into the air goes Bliss. He misjudged it. And now coming back is Jamaica in the yellow uniforms, yellow tops. Ball played ahead, but it's too far. Desmond Armstrong going back with Vinoli, and it's kicked away from Vinoli. He looked around for a foul. There was none called, so the U.S. did well there. It could have been disaster. Up the wing they come. Frankie Klopas broken up. Number 7, Winston England on the block. And now some holding going on. Coming back was Klopas. Klopas, a bright young star, 21 years old.
Well, unfortunate decision here of the United States. A little bit casual at the edge of the box, though. Armstrong not sure what to do. And very clearly the ball in the hands of Vinoli, and the referee lets him be dispossessed.
Back in the live action, play back to the goalkeeper, Paul Campbell, who plays in the Hellenic League in the New York area, although he does play for this Jamaican national side. And now on the far wing side, it is broken up. Alton Sterling will give it up to Carl Grant. Right side, it comes to Barrington Gaynor. Jamaica with the ball. No score. 40 minutes, 33 seconds to go. First half, Davis blocked it. And then as he tried to finesse it to Vermes, it was broken up. Not a good ball from Rick.
Well, Vermes maybe a little bit lucky himself to get away with a bit of a push, but pretty loose game so far. Ooh, almost getting through there, as you mentioned, Jim, as you mentioned, JP, the problems with this skidding surface.
Ball knocked out of play. Last touch by Winston England. So a throw-in coming up for the U.S. team. We'll look at England, number 7. Throw-in taken by the U.S. Gabara will leave it off for Windishman. He may get his own ball, but it's knocked out of play. Last touch, though, I believe, by Barrington Gaynor. Davis will throw it in. A look at the rules. Both teams playing the home and away match. The team having scored the most goals in both games qualifies for the next round. And in game 1, it was 0-0. But again, if it ends up being a tie score here, the road goals count as double, but that's only if the game is tied. Off a deflection, Guevara looks for it, but it's blasted away from him. Desmond Armstrong into the air. It's knocked away. Crow at the back. Over to Armstrong. Desmond Armstrong, who played with the Cleveland Force the last 2 years in the MISL. Broken up in the left wing. Down to the run is Anthony Corbett. Looking for Dennis Hudson. Crow on him. Kevin Crow, the U.S. national team sweeper. Twice the top defender in the major indoor soccer league. Now it's played back, knocked away by Rick Davis. Good defensive play up for Vermes. Peter Vermes does a nice turn on the right wing. Vermes trying to get by his man on the far side. And we've got a foul. Play on quickly on the restart. Vermes will get it in the right. Trying to send it across. Knocked away. A throw-in coming up for the U.S., but good hustle by Vermes.
Very good hustle indeed. And the ball, the whole thing started because Kevin Crow kept his composure out there as a sweeper, going over to slow the play down and then eventually getting the ball released out of the back. But look at this good turn by Vermes, faking a little bit, slowing down, and then accelerating away from his man. And then playing a little 1-2 at the end of it.
Davis will throw it in. As we come back to the live action, a quick one played in, and the goalkeeper, Paul Campbell, is right there. 38:22 to go. Opening half from the St. Louis Soccer Park. Better than 6,100 on hand. Looking for the U.S. to get on the board early. Jamaica knows if they can get on the board early, it's going to make for a very rough afternoon for the U.S. So you might see both teams coming out with a little more flair and a little more offensive thrust. Although the rain could have an effect on that part of the game. Windishman knocks it out of play. Throw-in coming up here for Jamaica. U.S. would love to win it by any score, but they could run the risk of having to gamble a bit if they trail early in the game. And it may also have an effect, Seamus, on when they bring in players like a Perez or a Goulet.
That's right. You can't build a strategy around substitutions. Obviously, you want to get some goals early, but they do have that possibility from the bench.
Barrington Gaynor on the free kick. Guevara having to give him the customary 10 yards. He'll try to give him 9, maybe 8. Gaynor ready to put the ball in play. Sends it long in the box. Vinoli sees this one all the way up into the air to snare it. David Vinoli looking to set up some offense. Not liking what he sees, and he may just send it long. Letting his players get a chance to run downfield. 37 minutes, 5 seconds to go. Opening half, Vinoli sends a long boomer up for Guevara. May have gotten a touch on that as it goes all the way over the end line. And there should be a goal kick coming up for Paul Campbell and Jamaica. There's no score from the St. Louis Soccer Park. This is a World Cup qualifying game. Stay with us. We'll come right back. And now it's played up to Klopas. He lost his footing, but the referee says he got some help. So a foul is caught. Klopas will leave it down now for Rick Davis. All the way on the left side, Brian Bliss. Bliss, good ball to Windishman. He's got a lot of room. They'll try to close him down. Played across, up into the air. One player missing. Now Klopas coming in. Frankie Klopas with a good job, only to lose it. Then Davis has it knocked away. But a good offensive thrust there for the U.S. Still a scoreless tie, and the U.S. will put it in play on the far wing sideline. Paul Crumpy, who had 2 goals in the win over Canada. That had to be his biggest game as a professional outdoors.
Very tentative play by the Jamaican defense. I expected a bit more bite, but they look a little unsteady in there. By the way, Crow is now up as a tall player for the throw-in.
There he was. Now it's played in. Here's a quick kick, but just wide. The acrobatics of Jim Guevara. That would have been one heck of a goal. Put that on the highlight film.
Well, it came awkwardly to Jim, but he did a pretty good job with this one, going off on his, jumping off on his left foot and trying to get around it with his right. But it was swirling away just a little bit from him towards midfield, so he could not quite get around from him. But as you mentioned earlier, he was a big hero in this park not so long ago with a cracking 3rd goal, the one that helped solidify the road to Seoul for this team.
That's the one that ended up as the actual game winner. The long ball played by Jamaica. All the way back for it. David Vinoli out of his box. Will lift it right side for Desmond Armstrong. Armstrong from the Washington, D.C. area, playing it upfield for Rick Davis off his touch. Klopas to Bliss. Bliss looking to lead Windishman down the left wing. Windishman has it knocked away by Jamaica. It goes out of play. It was last touched by Michael Tulloch. So Mike Windishman, who started out as a sweeper on this team, and their captain until Rick Davis came, they found a way to make the sweeper position stronger with Crow there and keep Windishman in the lineup. So that's a great job, coaching-wise, by the coaching staff to be able to do that and not have a key player like Windishman sitting on the bench, because Crow would do the better job at the back, as Crow plays it back to Benoli. Back for Kevin Crow, who played outdoors as well with San Diego State. Kevin Crow left footing it long off Vermes, and it'll come all the way back to Paul Campbell. 33:58 to go. First half of play here in St. Louis. Scoreless tie.
Peter Vermes unhappy with himself for not doing better with that. He's going to have to get used to, if he isn't already, receiving a lot of passes like that, or a fair number. It's the kind of thing that Brent Goulet is awfully good at. Windishman, by the way, is playing a left back position. A little bit surprising. He's often played sweeper and center back, but he's now playing left back and going forward as much as he can. Paul Crumpy is playing a sort of a defensive right midfield flank kind of position, and hoping to break forward, as he can do with a lot of effect.
High throw in from Jamaica off of Bliss, but now the Jamaican side takes it. Anglin with a long pass down the right wing side. Dennis Hudson after it. Hudson lost it off his own touch. So a goal kick for David Benoli, but a chance there for the Jamaican side. They're a very quick team, much like the Trinidad-Tobago team, Seamus, that we saw here earlier, and the U.S. beat them 4-1 was the score in that one. But Jamaica had to do well, despite what I hear are pretty bad conditions down there. The field not in good condition, and it was extremely hot and muggy, but they still held the U.S. to a scoreless tie. That's a good result for them.
And had a great chance to win it. Missed an open goal, and the United States, of course, missed some chances on their own, too.
Desmond Armstrong with it, lifting it. Wanted Vermes. Vermes with 21 goals his senior year at Rutgers, but 10 of them were game winners. Here's Peter Vermes. Cutting to the outside, trying to split two, but it was broken up. USA will get it back. Windishman on the left wing. In for Gabara. Try to play it back for Bliss, who wasn't going into that space. And now it's Anglin. Winston Anglin, a player that the U.S. will have to watch out for. Len Reutemann, the assistant coach of this team, said that Anglin's very dangerous and he's a good long-range shooter.
Yeah, he is a good long-range shooter, and I think one thing the United States has to be watching in its back four is just that quickness of the one-on-one situation. No foul called on Gabara.
Apparently not, as he takes it down the wing against Freddie Thompson. They played against each other indoors. Gabara, a right footer, and it swings to the outside and wide. And there'll be a goal kick coming up for Paul Campbell. Jim Gabara from the Mystic, Connecticut area will watch again.
Well, I think we'll see the challenge here by Gabara. Looked like he definitely fouled this player from behind. Pretty obvious that he did. Referee making some sort of strange decisions early on in this game as we look at close-up of Jim Gabara, allowing some things to go. It's a strange game so far, JP. It's sort of being played at a very slow pace, and the U.S. is sort of forcing things a lot, trying for that extra fancy-looking first touch situation, and really a bit more direct play might serve them better under these conditions.
Great job defensively by Crow, and then he tried to join in the attack, but now Jamaica takes over. Played across on the left. Carl Grant. Grant will get it back from Alton Sterling. Back to Anthony Corbett, their team captain. Corbett holding on to it. 30 minutes, 49 seconds still to go. Opening half of play. And it's a scoreless tie. U.S. team must win. A tie does them no good. They'll advance if they can win it to the next round with 4 other countries. Oh, what a shoulder challenge that was. And Rick Davis is giving the official a hard time, wondering where the call was there. And back the other way comes Jamaica. Good tackle. Tritchu. Nice job to win it. Now to Vermes. To Gabara. Wanted Bliss. Or Crumpy, but it went right in between them.
Just forcing things again. They're trying to make the spectacular pass, and just need to a little bit more composure. This is a dangerous situation, but I think Tritchu's going to take care of it.
And he does. Former 2-time All-American from SIU Edwardsville, and he's not too happy with that last tackle from behind. Windishman now back to Kevin Crow. Less than 30 minutes to go in the first half of play. Scoreless. Right back to David Benoli. Benoli led the UCLA team to a title in 1985. Sends it long. Wanted Vermes. Gabara may get it instead. As Gabara hits the turf, Jamaica will take it back to their keeper, Paul Campbell. Right side to Barrington Gaynor. Playing it upfield. Number 9 is Ramon Christian. Now to Carl Grant. Picked up quickly by Bliss. Across the other way. Freddie Thompson, number 3, played indoors with the Baltimore Blast, sending it in long. down the left wing side. Christian made the run, but he's picked up, and it's played right back to Vanoli.
Well, again, it's Kevin Crowe showing what the sweeper position is all about. Waiting to turn on the Jets when he really, until that point when he really had to, and then outpacing the attacker in order to sweep that ball away. And then again, the composure of Kevin Crowe over on the sideline, not panicking when running out of space, but being able to shield it and get it back to Vanoli.
He's covering a lot of ground out there in the early going. Crowe will take it back from Bliss. Up now to Davis. Rick Davis, after pretty much a 2-year hiatus from the national team, is back doing the job once more. On the right side to Frankie Klopas. Klopas played professionally right out of high school and made an impression. Not so much his first year, although he did all right, but his second year he really came on. And at 21 could be playing, if all things go well, for the U.S. team in the 1994 World Cup, where he'll be probably in the prime of his career.
Here's a pass by Mike Windishman. Really not a good pass, looking to try something very difficult with Bliss and not looking to see where that second defender was. It's all well and good to think that your target is maybe beating his man, but if the covering defender has got the play killed, then you have to have the discipline not to make that pass, and Windishman surprising me by doing it. There's a good ball.
Klopas hitting Davis, looking for Vermes in the box. Vermes trying to get around Corbett. Played it back. What's the stop?
Well, Brian Bliss on a very, very big goal for the United States. Nicely taken, but again, credit to Vermes. Look at Vermes. He doesn't panic in the box here when he's got a man on him. He's got a second defender coming over. He keeps his poise. A good run by Bliss and a good finishing touch. The keeper does get a hand on it. Paul Campbell did, but he could not stop it. A very important early goal, what the United States most needed. Now, Vermes doing very well here, not being panicked into trying a difficult shot, but instead waiting for some help, getting it in the form of Bliss, and then Bliss hits it nice and low and hard to the far corner, and while the keeper could get a touch on it, he wasn't down far enough to be able to block it. So Brian Bliss with the biggest goal of his United States career so far. Brian really one of the players who had a decent game against Poland recently when the rest of them were struggling a bit.
On a Brian Bliss goal, the U.S. leads 1-0. Ending the score. Trichuk after it. It's lost. Loose ball trying to split the defense. Walking by, Vanoli's out of the net. The turn on one, a save. That looks like Vermes.
I think it's Windishman.
Let's see. Windishman is right.
Well, that's what I was talking about. There's a lot of very sloppy thinking and sloppy play going on. And the United States deserves to be burned here, and they've been lucky to get away with things. As Windishman just bails out Vanoli again. Vanoli doing all that he could, but the very casual play out front is what's causing all the trouble. One man bursting through three there.
Back in the live action, the U.S. takes it away. Boy, Jamaica ruined a chance there on a corner kick, just giving up the ball. I was going to say that would have been a better play had it been Vermes, because he's normally up front, but I couldn't see the number there. I didn't know who it was, but Windishman saves a goal there. That's a tie game at that point. A little too much on the part of Brooks as Vermes is down. I'm sure Lothar Oceano and his assistant Lenny Roitman will have some words with the troops, though, because it was a little too casual back there. And the one thing that I would worry about for the U.S. side, Seamus, they could become too overconfident. This is the first time they've been favored to win a game like this. In other games, it was pretty much either dead even or they were many a time the underdog. Here, everyone's saying, the players, the coaching staff, that they'll set soccer back 2 or 3 years if they lose this game. Such is the magnitude of their confidence, and they know they're the heavy favorite.
Yeah, they sure do. And but Jamaica now is in a situation where they've got to come out and play. They cannot afford to just simply rely on trying to keep the United States. Oh, that ball's nestled against the corner flag and still in play. They can't afford just to play it tight and hope for a goal and to win 1-0. They've got to come out and tie this thing up in order to advance, and that's liberated them. They're now beginning to play a bit, and that's caused a lot of problems for the United States. With just under 3 minutes to go, it's still a little tense for the U.S. team defensively.
Freddie Thompson flipping it in. Windishman knocked it away. We're seeing Windishman free of injuries. He suffered some injuries during indoor, and we hadn't seen him at his 100% best, and we appear to be seeing it right now. There's the Lothar Osiander quote. If we don't win the program we set back 2 or 3 years, not many coaches or managers in any sport, Seamus, would be willing to go on the line and say that for fear of maybe losing a job if you lose a game like that. Can you imagine the guy in the Super Bowl saying, if we lose this game, we'll set football back in Denver 2 or 3 years? I mean, get your last paycheck tomorrow morning. Armstrong after it. But, I mean, you're seeing a confident U.S. team, and it's good to see. It's good to see. They know that the program has come far. They really do. Here's a turnaround for Anglin. Into the box, a right-footer. And it was just wide. Luckily, again, for the U.S., they've been dodging a lot of bullets lately, but you wonder about the ammunition on the part of Jamaica.
Great individual play by Anglin here. Destroys 2 players, beating both Crumpy and Crow, and then getting the quick shot off, and not on goal, fortunately for the United States, because that looked like it had goal written over it. And the confidence, if you're talking about confidence, very much now going over to the Jamaican side as they feel they can now do some damage.
All it takes is one scoring chance. U.S. has been fortunate here, but they lead 1-0. Kicked out of play. They'll give up a throw into Crumpy. Paul Crumpy will have a throw-in coming up on the far wing sideline as we look at the Jamaican bench. Jeffrey Maxwell, 2 guys in. That's Roy Howell, closest to your screen. He's the team manager. On the right side, played in out of Crumpy from Davis, who went over the line apparently. Goal kick coming up. I'd like to mention too, before the game, Seamus, that 24 St. Louisans were honored prior to the match as being former members of the U.S. national team. I don't know if there's accurate stats kept on those kind of figures, but from one particular area in St. Louis, 24 members from the national teams of previous times, and a lot of the names soccer fans would recognize because it's not that long ago that these guys played there. Nice touch.
The clock, by the way, JP, stopped at 2 minutes as it is usually now within the last 2 minutes of the half, so we don't know how much time is left. Neither do the players. Lots of people from other parts of the world find this a curious anomaly, but it does happen, and players here cope with it.
Brian Bliss will give it up now to Crumpy. Playing it up for Burmese. Now on the right side. Here's Brian Bliss again on the attack. U.S. would love to get another if they can before the half. Bliss knocked away on the challenge by Brooks, and Bliss went back, fought for it, and he's called for the foul. A lot of these players have come from the ranks of the major indoor soccer league, others from college, and a lot of these guys have played in the American Soccer League as well. The league, along with the Western Soccer Alliance and Lone Star Alliance, that are trying to bring outdoor soccer back. Some of the better players too in the American Soccer League, not playing in this one yet, but Tab Ramos has an Achilles problem. He had played for New Jersey earlier. That's it for the first half of play. Referee calls proceedings to a halt. U.S. has to be pretty happy that they've got a 1-0 lead, Seamus, because there were some giveaways there in the end, and it could be a 1-1 tie.
Yes, they've got to be happy with the goal, obviously, and the lead. But as you mentioned, there got to be some strong words, it seems to me, in the locker room about the freedom that they're giving to some of these Jamaican players, and they're getting themselves into one-on-one situations and exposing themselves badly, and thus jeopardizing that important goal lead.
The U.S. team walks off the field with a 1-0 lead on a Brian Bliss goal. We're coming back. Stay with us. Covering up for a couple of plays, a couple of errors, and in fact saved a goal from being scored against him. So Perez is not coming in for maybe another high-scoring type player. He's coming in for someone who plays more of a defensive role.
That's right, and the midfield therefore will have to be adjusted a little bit because Perez does play in midfield, although who knows where exactly they'll have him working. It might be on the left side of the attack. And pulling Jimmy Gabarra into midfield. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see what they sort out with these changes. At the moment, Gabarra is playing in midfield and Perez is up front, but lineups on the field for kickoffs don't really amount to very much until you start to see the flow of play. And we'll be able to tell then what they do.
One change on the Jamaican side. Dennis Hudson is out, number 13, with the name of Paul Newman. Famous name here in America. I'll tell you, he's done pretty well for Jamaica. They were afraid he might be in the starting lineup. The U.S. was. Apparently he played well in that game down in Kingston. But he's out there in the second half to try and make things happen. But the guy to watch for the U.S., no question, number 11, Hugo Perez. Here's Brian Bliss. He has the only goal of the game thus far on an assist from Burmese in 17-12 of the opening half. This is Klopas, number 6, for Crumpy. Soft touch to Bliss. Can he keep it in play? And in a dangerous spot. Cameraman almost got hit, and youngster trying to watch the action. was a little bit dazed by that. Luckily, he's all right, or he appears to be fine.
Yeah,